This is the Ag Queen Podcast. This podcast explores the agriculture industry with the movers and shakers of those shaping it. Here's your host, Lori Boyer.
This episode of the Ag Queen Podcast is being brought to you by Xyway brand fungicides by FMC.
Go long for season-long foliar disease protection that starts at plant. Only Xyway brand fungicides from FMC provide season-long foliar disease protection from the start. Active ingredient flutriafol moves through your corn plants as they grow for inside-out protection from roots to tassel. Growers and retailers are sharing their Xyway brand fungicide success stories at xyway.ag.fmc.com. Always read and follow all label directions.
Today, I am excited to learn more about the strawberry industry. My guest is the Senior Vice President of the California Strawberry Commission, Chris Christian. Chris, thanks for joining me. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background.
Yes, thanks, Lori, and I'm happy to be here with you today. I have been in the food and agricultural industry for over 25 years now, mostly working in California specialty crops. I'm actually a food scientist by training, who got her start in the fresh cut produce industry. And I've been with the California Strawberry Commission now for about 19 years.
Do you yourself have a background in agriculture? Did you grow up in the industry?
I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, in a rural area, on a very small family farm. We were not a commercial farm at all. We were just a family farm who grew for ourselves and sold a little bit at the roadside. But I grew up around farming, different scales, and then got interested again in agriculture after completing my undergraduate work at Penn State University. I went back and went for a master's in food science, and that's what led me into working with specialty crops in Pennsylvania, and then eventually to specialty crops in California.
Okay, thank you for that. The Strawberry Commission, the California Strawberry Commission, where are you headquartered at?
Our headquarters for the California Strawberry Commission is in Watsonville, California. We also have offices in our various production districts in Ventura, in Santa Maria, and we also have an office up in Sacramento.
Okay. And just educate me a little bit more, I guess, if you will. Tell me about the strawberry industry in California, a little bit more about how big it is, what kind of members you have, maybe where is it consolidated to one area of the state, just some general info.
Oh, sure. So here at the California Strawberry Commission, we represent all of the growers, shippers, and processors of strawberries here in California. We produce strawberries on over 35,000 acres, mostly along the Central Coast. So our primary production area is from all the way from San Diego County north through Ventura, Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, Monterey, and Santa Cruz. Those are our primary production districts for strawberries in the state. And the reason we grow in those areas is because of the unique coastal climate and the moderating effect of that climate, which is the ideal climate in the world for growing strawberries, which we have right here in California. Our members include about 300 family farmers. Many of them are multi-generational family farmers. And about 2/3 of our farmers are descended from immigrants, Mexican-American immigrants.
Do most of the strawberries stay in the United States, or do you export a lot of them?
Most of our production does stay within the United States and North America. Our exports are about 17 or 18% of our overall fresh and frozen production. And that primarily goes to North America, so to Canada and Mexico. Canada is our largest export market, followed by Mexico. We also export strawberries to Asia, various Asian markets, and then some to Europe and to the Middle East as an industry.
Chris, is it a high labor intensive crop, or is there technology that is developed to help harvest the strawberries?
Strawberries remain a very labor intensive crop. We employ probably about 50,000 farm workers. Strawberries have to be hand harvested. They are individually picked and placed into the clamshell containers that everyone sees in the stores. And that berry is not touched again until the shopper opens it up at home. So we have a big focus around education on the farms with respect to food safety and grower and worker education as well.
Are a lot of the workers migrant workers?
Some are migrant, yes. Some follow the crop throughout the state. We have many, many workers in our industry who return each year and work for the same farming companies year after year. We have many stories from our industry of farm workers who find their way to the American dream, starting out in the strawberry fields, and have now become farm owners and employers themselves.
More with Chris Christian with the California Strawberry Commission right after this.
It changes everything. So says Indiana corn grower Nathan Davis about innovative Xyway LFR fungicide from FMC. Xyway brand fungicides are the first and only at-plant corn fungicides to provide unprecedented season-long inside-out foliar disease protection. Discover more grower and retailer success stories at xyway.ag.fmc.com. Always read and follow all label directions.
A lot of times as I'm going through and looking up different pieces of information with regard to California agriculture and agriculture in general, it seems like labor continuously pops up as a big issue for the industry.
Yes, labor is definitely a challenge. Strawberries are a delicate crop, which is why we still rely so much on individuals to harvest our crop. We are working on different technologies to automate that process, to simplify that process, but those are still in early development phases in terms of our industry.
Chris, can you talk about some of the issues that you're dealing with as part of the commission, as what these growers are dealing with? Maybe just identify some of the larger issues that they're moving through right now.
Well, we face a lot of challenges in the industry, as do all crops, but some are unique to strawberries. We don't have along the Central Coast the water challenges that farmers face more in the Central Valley. Ours are, of course, around labor, around land cost, around the encroachment of urban development. People like to live where strawberries like to grow. So that's an ongoing challenge that leads to rising land costs for our farmers. And, as inflation is hitting all sectors of agriculture right now, a lot of our input costs have increased significantly in terms of land preparation, things like drip irrigation, the mulch, the plastic mulch that we use in the field, the packaging that we harvest the strawberries into and transport it. All of those costs are rising and have risen significantly over the last year. Transportation costs have also risen. So there are always any number of challenges that farmers face out in the fields.
And I'm sure some of that is also part of the supply chain issue too. Like you mentioned, some of those plastics and some of the different materials you need just to have your cartons.
Yes, exactly. So we haven't experienced major disruption or anything like that. There have just been some delays in terms of getting our ground put together for, or ground put in planting for the coming year. But there haven't been major disruptions for strawberries. We do not ship through the ports. If our product is going overseas, it's going via air. So we don't have those types of delays. Where those types of delays would affect us would be on any materials that might be coming in through those venues.
Then does the Strawberry Commission act as an advocacy platform, or how do you step in and help growers with these types of issues?
We work to represent, our farmers and to represent the interests of our farmers with elected officials, local officials. We work very heavily on a number of issues around agriculture. We have created probably the largest grower education and outreach program that exists in the state of California. We have a team of grower education specialists who've created this on-farm education program, and this is for growers, supervisors, and farm workers. And what we are doing is we have a series of virtual and in-person courses that address many, many topics. These include regulatory topics, supervisor development, heat illness prevention, pesticide safety, wildfire smoke mitigation are some examples. And also supervisor soft skills, dealing with employee situations, resolving situations in a positive manner. And of course, we started our program in food safety. That's been the foundation of our food safety, recognizing that our product is hand harvested. And so we have these trainings are completely done in Spanish. As many had to during the pandemic, we had to pivot from in person to virtual. We now have about 9.5 hours of virtual training content that is available, but we are also now moving back to really what is the strength of our program, which is in-person trainings in our production districts that are fully conducted in Spanish.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, thanks for mentioning some of those things. I will have to do a follow-up interview with you, or maybe we can do this a little bit more consistent. There's several of those pieces that we could talk
Okay.
specifically on that I think would be really interesting. When are strawberries actually harvested?
So we produce year-round in California, but our peak season is April through August. That is when most of the strawberries you see in the store will almost certainly be from California. And as a state, we supply 90% of U.S. grown strawberries.
Is that right? Okay, thank you for
Yeah.
sharing. That's a great statistic. Thank you for sharing that. There's so much more I want to talk to you about, but I think we'll
Um,
call it an interview here today. But thank you so much for your time. And you mentioned some things in there that are very, very educational. So I appreciate you sharing. And I love strawberries. So thank you for all
okay,
you're
great.
doing.
Yeah, thank you. There's lots we could talk about, Lori. Our health research program, our just how demand is going. Certainly, we've had a good season this year, and we expect to have a great season next year with an increase in acreage and more production available earlier in the spring potentially. So
Okay.
things look really great as we head into next year.
Chris Christian, Senior Vice President of the California Strawberry Commission.
That wraps up today's interview. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Ag Queen Podcast with your host, Lori Boyer.